60s. For anything and everything Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com. Find us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at KHTS Radio.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome to the Ask Brien Show. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show, and Ask Brien is spelled with an E, because everybody knows that's how you spell Brien, B-R-I-E-N. This is the Ask Brien radio show, 98.1 and 1220. Now, most of the times, I do 1220 and 98.1, but I decided to switch it around, because every time we can't get bored here, we have to keep going and going and going, like the Energizer Bunny Rabbit. So people who have never, ever listened to the Ask Brien radio show, I really don't know what to tell you. You're in for a treat. Brien and the Ask Brien radio show is associated with the AskBrien.com website. And the AskBrien.com website was formulated to help business owners solve business problems. That's what Ask Brien does. And Ask Brien has experts that will answer questions to become an expert. You can't become an automatic expert. We're not an AI. We're not a logarithm. You can't use a bot and become an expert on Ask Brien. You want to become an expert on Ask Brien? You have to apply. And we vet you. What does that mean? We check out how many hours have you done, have you worked? Must be at least 10,000 hours. That's only 2,000 hours a year for 5 years. That's 50 weeks, 40 hours. That's how you get 10,000. We feel that if you don't have 5 years experience, then you're not even going to meet the minimum qualifications. There are other qualifications beyond that. Sometimes, in rare circumstances, when it's a very special person, you can not meet the 10,000 hour requirement. Generally, that is a standard. We want experts to be specialists in a specific area, and we have business categories all the way from accounting, AC, all the way to website development. So an A to W, not an A to Z, because we don't have any X, Y's, and Z's really in our business categories. But we could always add one. If you can figure out a category, let me know. We'll be happy to do that. Every expert has an ability to show videos, show their website, show their blog posts, show their ebooks, and schedule their webinars. We also have a question and answer that can be answered by a business community, so peers from a cleaning owner in Alabama to a cleaning owner in Alaska. They may be in different states, but they may have to deal with the same issues all the time, or they can ask an expert. So that's what the Ask Brien site is all about, and that's AskBrien.com and Ask Brien Radio Show. Now, last week I had no co-hosts. I was very sad. I felt like for the older people in the crowd, like the Maytag repairman, I was here all alone. My co-host abandoned me. But my co-host today is live. And even though he's an extremely busy person, has a career that I can't even mention all the companies he's worked for, lots of very successful companies, because he doesn't want me to mention those. But he's got a great, great background, and I'm very, very glad to have him on the show. And my co-host is Alex Grossman. Alex, you there?
Mr. Brien Johnson, I am here, and, I would never abandon you as a co-host, so when I get the pleasure to co-host your show, I'm always here to help. So,
it was just very lonely, and some words were being talked about here, but we're all good to have you back.
Yeah, it's very good. It looks like we're going to have a really great show today, so I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
And if you like Ed Sullivan, you got a really great show here, really great. Anyway, we have a very special guest, and by the way, so you want to tell the audience what you were doing last week that you had to abandon the show, or is that confidential information, which might be?
That is 100% confidential at this point.
All right, so
that's the way startups are.
Okay, well, we already got some information that he's working for a startup. So don't be surprised if Alex Grossman is the next guest on the show about his startup. All right, so here we are. We have a very special guest today. Andrew, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, guys. I think Alex is a secret agent, maybe.
Yes, or Mr. Gadget Man. Or maybe he's just working for the CIA, and maybe he had to stop off in Somalia or somewhere just to deal with some problems. We'll find out eventually, although it is confidential.
Just can't tell you that good stuff. It's too important.
He could tell us, but he'd have to kill you.
I can say I'm working on a unicorn. Let's put it that way.
All right, so without any further ado, so Andrew, so let's get a little bit of your background. You're a young guy, and my belief is anyone under 40 is young. But I have a couple of questions for you. So, what business are you in?
So, software primarily. I have a software agency, but then I use my software agency as an incubator to building startups.
Okay, so first of all, not everyone understands the word incubator. I do. Alex does, but not everybody understands that. So, differentiate. I'm going to ask you a question. What is the difference? First of all, I want you to describe what an incubator is, and after you get the word through that, I want you to tell me what is the difference between a incubator and an accelerator company.
Sure. Yeah. So for my own personal work, my incubator, what we do is we incubate ideas. So we come up with different ideas, primarily technology, a lot of SaaS. A lot of advanced and disruptive tech, SaaS being software as a service. So a product that you build one time and then there's a reoccurring revenue subscription model as a pricing. And an incubator for me, we have my software development agency and then we incubate different ideas. So we look at different industries, different categories, and we build businesses that are solving real problems for business owners for different industries. Within those different categories. And so we incubate ideas. We use my software development agency to build the products, and then we release them into those different industries.
So in the incubator, you're doing it yourself. You don't have startups and other companies within the incubator. Is that the difference?
Yeah, well, I have my team, so it's all internal. If you were to talk about just in general, like an incubator versus an accelerator, an incubator typically is same sort of structure where there's a handful of companies, they get together, they incubate their ideas, they work together, maybe they share resources, maybe they share co-working space, versus an accelerator. An accelerator is more of an actual program that you would go through, kind of like either Y Combinator up in the Bay, or there's a handful in LA, and an accelerator.
And there's also 500 startups, I believe, in the Bay Area as well.
Yeah, 500 startups is a big one. There's a handful of big accelerators that have come up and become pretty recognizable in the past 10 years. And so an accelerator typically is an organization that will provide usually some sort of investment, anywhere from 50 to 150,000, usually seed money. You apply, you have to get accepted into the program, you go through some interviews, and then the program itself typically provides mentorship resources. You usually go through like a 10-week course where you're meeting regularly with your team and other founders. And then at the culmination of the program, it's typically there's a demo day where you actually present your product, what you've been working on. Usually there's press and additional investors, and it's just a way to showcase and show off what your project and your company is.
Also, I know that you're involved in a very special volunteer product. I know volunteer program, and I know there's something coming up in the next day or two, I believe, in the Venice area. So why don't you tell people what that program is all about, how they can get information about it, and we're going to go back into your business background.
Sure, yeah. So I actually founded a program called Street Smarter, and Street Smarter is a way to basically make technology more accessible to the masses. And so we do that in a couple of different ways, but the two primary ways, we actually go into prison systems and we teach inmates how to become entrepreneurs. So we take them through a 10-week course. Then at the end of the 10 weeks, they do kind of like a demo day, like I explained with an accelerator, where they're actually pitching their ideas to a panel of judges, kind of like a Shark Tank type style. And we're then bringing in guest speakers and resources and have a curriculum. And so they're building and creating their businesses while they're incarcerated. And then the second part of that program is we have a technology program. So we actually teach people in different communities. We did our first pilot program last week in Crenshaw. So we're teaching people how to build websites in one day. And that's a free program. We're going to be, targeting a bunch of different communities all over Southern California initially, then rolling out nationally. And we actually have a program where we're launching internationally. We'll be in South Africa in November. And then tying all that together, we have a venture fund, and it's the first and only felon-focused venture fund. So we only invest in businesses that are founded by ex-felons.
That's pretty exciting. How well do they accept it? I mean, are they interested in doing it? This rehabilitation, is it working? Is it something you're finding that you're seeing a high connect rate to?
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, and we can get into my background a little bit more on our chat today, but I went through the prison system. So I knew firsthand, how much potential is in the system, how many people are there that have tons of potential and stories and have the drive and ambition, and unfortunately just put it to, wrong use or made some bad decisions, and so found themselves stuck in the system. And so for the past 6 years, I've been going back into the prison system through another nonprofit, teaching inmates in prisons how to computer program. So we actually have a very successful coding program within the prison system. We have a 0% recidivism rate, which is unheard of throughout any program over 10 years. And so my personal experience seeing, the coding programs are working and being able to transition and parlay in creating my own program for building entrepreneurs, it was a no-brainer for me. And there's a huge positive response. And anyone and everyone that is involved with the program, they enjoy it. I think there are some parallels, and I wrote a book recently that talks about this, but parallels between entrepreneurs and ex-convicts, whether it's the openness to take on risk or break rules or, leadership styles. Like, there are a lot of parallels. And so what I've found, building leaders up in the system, you create really effective and strong entrepreneurs. And it's been really rewarding to see that transformation take place.
I have a question, and I'll let you go in a second, Alex. How do you find how do investors feel about putting money into companies that are involving felons?
It's a great question. I don't think they're very excited about it, and that's why I created a felon fund, right? So, I'm an ex-felon. I've created multiple multi-million-dollar companies over my career. One I started when I was 24. It became a $60 million nutrition company that I co-founded. And even in the midst of all that, because of some stuff that happened to me in my past, I got in a fight in Las Vegas when I was 22. So I had to fight that case for like 6 years. And so I had changed my life around, done really well, created, very successful companies, parlayed my success into more success. But unfortunately, because I went through the prison system, even getting out, I couldn't even get a job at Starbucks. So I had to start over with $200, to my name, rebuild my empire, rebuild businesses from the ground up, from scratch. It was incredibly difficult for me to attract investors, even with my own personal successful track record, because I was a felon. And so I decided to focus on bootstrapping and building and scaling the way I know how. And so for me to be able to put my own money up and put my money where my mouth is and say, well, I'll take a risk on ex-felon founders because I came from that place. I know that those are the people I actually would rather bet on. I know that they'll be diligent with my funds. I know that they'll be able to overcome any obstacle because of the things that they've been through. I know their mindset's stronger than anyone that hasn't been through the system. So for me, it was like, this is a no-brainer. I'd rather put my money on those types of people rather than just the general population.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah,
I have a question.
I think that's really interesting. I mean, there's a certain stigma there that, of course, you have to get past, and I think that that recidivism rate that they have, especially in places like California, are so high that people don't want to make that bet, right? So that's a really interesting thing, and I get that you're teaching people to code, which is fantastic, and it sounds like a lot of our entrepreneurs, people who are always looking for people, could tap that resource. So how do they go about tapping the resource? I mean, how does your volunteer work help them to tap that resource to get people into their organizations?
You mean when a person comes out and they now know how to code? How do businesses hire those people?
So they don't end up getting the rejection notice from Starbucks, right? I mean,
right.
Thing.
Yeah. Just to complement what you said too, like in terms of the recidivism rate in California, it's 55%. I think it was 60%, a year or two ago. It's gone down slightly, but yeah. So more than half of the prison population that goes in comes back out, violates and goes back in, right? And so
round door.
Hugely, yeah.
It's a career.
Huge issue. Since the 70s, the prison population has increased by 700%. The U.S. makes up 25% of the world's prison population and only 5% of the actual human population. So, for sure, we have a problem on our hands, right? Granted, our system works better than other, third world countries where you're getting your hand chopped off if you steal a loaf of bread, right? But there's still improvements that can be made. In terms of the nonprofit side, we currently are connecting our students that go through our coding program, get paroled, and we're connecting them with different potential employers. Because the program's still somewhat small, we have 13 different programs across the U.S., so we're primarily based in California. So we still can kind of manage that flow. Eventually, we will make it more accessible to the public, where we are, creating either like a job board of some sort or some sort of LinkedIn type platform that will allow people to connect and maybe even understand the person before they even get released, so they can start kind of understanding. Maybe there's some sort of communication that can happen. So currently we are helping with actual placement on the nonprofit side. And that's the nonprofit that I've been involved with for the past 6 years. On my side, for the Street Smarter, which is the program that teaches inmates how to become entrepreneurs, we actually plan on, using some of the skills and resources to help people get jobs. But then, our ultimate goal is to actually help them build their businesses from the ground up. So it's slightly different, where they're not necessarily needing to go and look for a job, where when they get out right away, we can prep them enough to where they can actually build a business that starts generating them income that they can actually live and survive on.
I think we're going to be taking a break in about 3 minutes, but when you come back, I want you to tell the viewers how you started out with $200, okay, out of prison and became successful. Because I think a lot of people with $200, including the person across from me and everybody around me, would like to say, if I had $200 and I could be successful, I would like to know what to do. So I want to do that.
Yeah.
But before we go further, I thought you have an event scheduled tomorrow. What is that event?
I do, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I have a book launch. So my big thing is I like to use comedy and humor to talk about serious topics. I wrote a comedy book about prison, about my experiences. It includes prison life hacks, workouts, food recipes, slang, just stuff that you can kind of learn about prison. And it's called Don't Drop the Soap. And so tomorrow, we actually in Venice, if for any of your listeners that are in the area, we have an event. We have a book launch. I'll be there signing books. And we have, photo ops and some cool stuff. We have an experiential prison food pop-up going on. So we're actually going to create, some surprise prison food dishes that people can come out and try while they're there, and actually while I'm signing books and doing the book launch. That'll be on Abbott Kinney Street. It's first Friday, August 2nd, starting at 5 p.m. And yeah, for anyone that wants to get involved, come on out and I'll sign a book and we'll have some fun.
That sounds great. Now, so we got about another minute or so left. What business did you start when you left? When you started out the second time, because you were.
So I started a software development company, and it was based on, when I was in prison, I taught myself how to build websites without the internet, without, any modern technology, no computer. I taught myself actually by reading textbooks and by writing my first line of code with the number 2 golf pencil on my prison rack with a notepad.
Wow.
And I'll get into that a little bit more when we come back from break. But so with those skills that I taught myself over the 2 years I was in the joint, I got out and I created a software development agency right away. And I'll provide some tactics and some tips that I used to leverage that $200 to actually make it worth way more. And how I bootstrapped that business from the ground up.
Also, I think our listeners would want to know how to create a website in one day. I don't think too many people know how to do that unless they go to Weebly or Wix or one of those companies where they do it for you. But to actually be able to do it on your own in one day, I think that's pretty great for a small business owner who maybe listens to our show.
Yeah, we can get into that too.
We're going to be taking a break right now. We'll be right back in about 2-3 minutes.
The stress was unbelievable.
Debbie Morris is a changed woman.
A giant boulder's been lifted.
Debbie called Made for You.
I'd finished a day of work.
Professional, residential, and commercial cleaning.
Walk into my house.
Made for You.
It was an absolute pigsty.
Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or even one-time seasonal cleaning.
Our mess kept growing.
255-2922.
Even when we weren't home.
255-2922.
Made for You rescued me.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
The Antelope Valley Fair presents Zario Speedwagon performing at the Palmdale Auto Mall's concert series on Saturday, August 17th. Here comes REO. Opening for REO, the LA indie rock band Sir Please. Get your tickets today at avfair.com. This year's fair presented by IBEW and NECA.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show, ASKBRIEN, and you're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM with my co-host, Alex Grossman, and our guest, Andrew Mennel. You guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah,
it's great.
We're definitely here.
If you ever have a boxing match, call me. I'll do the announcements. So right before we were talking, discussing how you were able to create a new business after having some difficulties in your life, and you started it right away, and it became pretty successful pretty quickly. So let's go back to that. You have $200. You can't work at Starbucks, and what are you supposed to do? And how did you do it?
Yeah. So when I was in prison, I did two things that were very effective for me making a successful comeback, and that was
become best friends with Bubba. Okay, go ahead.
Right, yeah. That's when you don't drop the soap. Go get my book, people. Yeah, no. So, yeah, two things. So one was I taught myself how to code, right? And so I started learning the basics of WordPress and web design, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, I got all the books sent in, read rigorously, 18-hour days. I was just reading and writing, doing that for 2 years compounds. And so it was highly effective. And then the second thing I did was I used to handwrite articles to Entrepreneur Magazine, to Forbes, to Inc., to Fastco, hoping that this unique angle, entrepreneur in prison, sharing advice on mindset, on bootstrapping, all these things and topics that I thought they'd pick up, that they'd publish my work while I was there. Unfortunately, they didn't while I was inside. But what happened is I used that story when I got out, and I got a ton of press and got picked up all over Time Magazine, Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, all these different outlets. And then they also allowed me to contribute content to their platform. And so when I get out with $200, I realized that I couldn't get a job at Starbucks. I couldn't get a job anywhere. My goal was to get a part-time job and just to have some cash, and then use that also to, part-time, and then build a company part-time. So I'd do simultaneously just because I needed, obviously, money to survive and live. But, unfortunately, I didn't have that luxury. And so there were a couple different things I did that were really effective. The first was I went to Craigslist just to see the type of products and services that people needed. I knew that if I created a service-based business, this is for any of your listeners that are starting businesses now and they need to generate revenue right away, I knew that with a service-based business, I could generate revenue right away. Typically with product-based businesses, whether they're digital or tangible products, physical products like a sports nutrition or book or whatever it is, you have to create the product, and there's usually a lot of lead time, and people usually don't pay right away. If you can pre-sale, it's just tougher, right? So I knew if I created a service-based business, I could generate revenue right away. And so I went on to Craigslist. I found all these different services that people needed and realized that websites and digital marketing, but really primarily websites, is where there would be a lot of demand. And so what I did was I used Craigslist as my lead funnel, and I would just go on every single day, multiple times a day, look at different cities, reach out to people, and start having conversations. What I realized is it was taking a lot of time, just the outreach process and the sales process. So I created a script using a web tool called IFT. It's called If This Then That. It's a logic statement for when you're coding. So I used something called IFT, and what I did was I created a trigger that alerted me anytime any single person across the entire U.S. Needed a website created on Craigslist. And so what ended up happening, rather than me spending endless hours and time trying to find people that needed websites, by creating that lead funnel, all the different people that were posting on Craigslist, I was getting those messages right into my inbox, in my email inbox, and then I started using that as a really effective sales system. And so I would sell a website. I'd kind of learn on the go as I was building, and I use a couple other tools that help me to manage my time. I use Trello to manage my projects. I use Fiverr. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Fiverr, but Fiverr is a site that you can get gigs for really inexpensive, $5 typically, but now they go up 5, 10, 15, just depending on what the gig is. And you can find a lot of highly trained and successfully skilled people to do odd tasks. So I'd have some of these people on Fiverr help support me building websites, and I wasn't paying them much, so my margin was still very high. Then I started to use Upwork. By the way, Fiverr is I have a promo code for anyone that wants to use it. I totally forgot. It's AA, so you get 10% off any order. I work with them a lot, and I love them. I think their company is amazing.
And it doesn't
and
stand
so
for
with,
Alcoholics Anonymous?
it's actually Action and Ambition, which is my video show. But it does stand for Alcoholics Anonymous.
You can see where I'm thinking. You see how
that's another prison thing. So, but yeah, so doing these things were extremely helpful. I started to create, I had a bunch of people that were interested in the service I was providing. I had a bunch of leads. I was closing sales, using other tools that would help me minimize my time, so like there are tools out there for building invoices or proposals. My mind's blanking right now. I have one tool that I like. I'll come back to it. That I recommend that's really effective. And it just saves you so much time putting a proposal together because you have a template, you change out, some of the company info, and then you're done within minutes rather than spending hours creating a proposal. And so all this good stuff started to happen. But then because I was creating content and I was sharing my story about what it was to be an entrepreneur, going through the prison system and actually being open, because there was a point in time where I got out. I had two decisions. It was one, I could either share my story and be open and transparent. I mean, not share it and pretend like nothing happened, or share it and be open and transparent. I decided to share it and be open and transparent because I knew that if I could keep it real with everyone else, that would afford me more opportunity. And I'd rather be myself rather than hide and pretend like something didn't happen. And so as my businesses started to grow, I leveraged the PR and the press that I was getting, but then also leveraged the fact that I was contributing to all these different outlets. And that really helped to elevate my brand and create an even larger platform, which helped, me to speed up the success of my company.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff there. I'm quite amazed that you've been able to do that. Question for you: How do you get something to be able to get alerts from Craigslist if that's not confidential? Can you go over that? Because that sounds like something that people would love to have. Now that might be confidential.
Yeah.
So you may not.
Yeah. It was. I literally just used the there's this tool called IFTTT. IFTTT, 3 T's. So if this, then that. It's a logic statement that's used in coding. But what the product does, it allows you to create different triggers. So like, for instance, you can create a trigger. So you can use if to set a trigger. So anytime somebody posts, that they need a website created on Craigslist, then you can create a trigger. And then the action is, okay, they'll notify you of somebody that posts that. So there's actions and triggers, right? And by using that tool, I was able to create this lead system. And anyone can go and do that now. Like, you could use the same system I used. So you would just go to IFTTT.com, and then you'd set up, a logic statement. It's really easy. It's like drag and drop.
So as a lawyer, I could type in lawsuit in Los Angeles, and anytime somebody had a lawsuit in Los Angeles on Craigslist, I would be notified.
If someone
That's right.
on Craigslist wants to find an attorney, that's true.
Some people do that, Alex.
Right.
I'm not sure I'd recommend that personally, but
Right.
I need a gardener and an attorney. It might be
right. Yeah, I need my quinceañera and bar mitzvah catered with an attorney.
But the gardener will probably get more respect than the lawyer. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so certain industries, certain niches will work. Attorney services may not be the best for that, but web design is great. Digital marketing, content creation, video editing. Those are niches that people still post daily on Craigslist for. So
from there, you were able to start. You got some revenue off building some websites for some people, and then from there, you were able to create your company, which has grown and grown. Is that correct, or did you?
Yeah. That was from my software development agency, and then through that and through contributing at all these different places, and I started to get really high-end clients. So I had did some stuff with Microsoft and IBM and Warner Brothers and the California Education Department. So I was able to start landing some really high clients. And that was in 2013. So from there, we've continued to build and grow. But I've parlayed and diversified in a million other directions. You know, I'm an advisor to an AR company that has infused blockchain, so it's like Pokemon Go that can earn Bitcoin, which is really cool. I just sold a SaaS business to another company. So my SaaS business is called Hootie. We just sold to a company called Press Hunt, and that's just a database, and it's a company that allows entrepreneurs and founders to get press coverage. So we have a huge database of journalists.
Do you still build websites?
Yeah. I still personally build, websites, my own websites. You know, I love to build other websites. Like, obviously there's a trade-off for my time. But yeah, I still have my software development agency. It's called Agent Beta, agentbeta.com. We still have that business. I've just recently invested into a PR agency. So I have a handful of companies that I'm building and growing, and through my software development agency, like I said previously, I incubate and build other startups. And so I use it as my software development agency has become like my software incubator arm. So if I want to go out and build a business in a different industry, I just use my software development agency, and then it's like I go and I forge the path and figure out where I want to go, and then I take my team and we build something there. And and every business is different. Sometimes I'll need investors, or sometimes I'll bootstrap it, or sometimes we'll pre-sell to industry professionals in a specific industry. Sometimes I'll bring on partners that have relationships. Every business is different depending on what industry we're attacking.
So what are your revenues from all your businesses today that you started in 2013? Approximately.
For the software development agency?
All the businesses combined, if you can do that. If not,
well, we've definitely done millions of dollars. I can't disclose some of the stuff. Like my AR company, we're doing an IEO. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but so we're under disclosure agreements for some of the stuff we're doing there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like we've definitely hit past seven figures across all the different businesses, and we continue to grow.
And this is off of $200 in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the $200 only got me so far. I don't have that same $200 anymore, I don't think.
You probably have a little more than 200 though. Alex, did you have a question?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just fascinated. I think it just goes to show that, if you have the drive and you have the push, you can reinvent yourself and do it again. I mean, I know from listening to some of your stuff and looking at your bio that, you actually were incarcerated, years after the actual incident occurred. And so you had time to build yourself up into an incredible business. And what's interesting about that is most people would just go into a state of depression that would probably last 10 years, right? I mean, here you have everything. Now you essentially lose everything. And most people wouldn't do the work of sitting there with your number 2 pencil learning how to code. They would go into a state of depression, right? And I think that just shows what you're made of and what you can do. And if you can identify that in other people, that's a pretty incredible thing as well. That's a talent.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's the thing, like what I learned about going through the prison system and the process myself. I mean, obviously, like it takes a certain makeup, but I'm not like the exception. And there's nothing, I'm not some super, intelligent, crazy, like I'm just an everyday dude like any one of us or anyone else that or anyone that just wants to do better for themselves. Right? Like I have a vision for my life. I have a very big vision for my life, and the things I'm working on and the obstacles that I go through on a daily basis or whatever it is that I've dealt with, like those things are not going to impede or stop me from getting to where I ultimately want to be in life. And I think if you have that sort of vision, I think that anyone can accomplish anything they want. And I think that mindset is so important. I think having the right attitude. I mean, there's so many things that are important with regards to this, but I think mindset is really, it's the one thing we all can control, and it's probably one of our biggest either superpowers or biggest detriments. And I think we all have the ability to do incredible things. And that's the thing too. Like, I appreciate the compliment. But, going through the system, I realized like there are tons of other people like me that want to do this, or that have done this, or are doing this, or want to do it. And some of them just need some direction, and some of them just need resources. And that's my thing. Like, I'm kind of like breaking in through the back door of the industry, and me breaking in through the back door, like, I'm going to pull and invite every single person that I know that's been through similar things or has gone through struggles or whatever it is, because my goal is now to like really help others and inspire others and motivate and push them and share the resources in the path that I know that works, so that goes for my friends or my family or anyone that wants more out of their life. And I think that as a person that has gone through some pretty wild experiences and overcome a lot, I feel like it's my duty as an entrepreneur, but just as like a human being. And so for me to be able to be in a position where I can give back, where I can share things I've learned, where I can continue to help and educate and provide resources to communities and people that don't necessarily know they have access to them, it for me is like, that's where my passion lies now,
Yeah, and I think as an entrepreneur, that is the entrepreneur's dream, right? That's what makes us all entrepreneurs. We have this goal to do better, to continue to succeed, and to continue to just do things people say that we can't do, right?
Well,
100%.
You're truly inspirational. We'll be right back. We got to take a break, and we'll be right back with Andrew Middle.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
Bob, I don't believe you.
You're jaded, Blanche.
Read my lips, Bob. You've had a history of exaggeration.
It's true. They're building Castaic High School.
Castaic High, like in Castaic, California.
That's right, Blanche.
Prove it, Bob.
Go to your computer, type in CastaicHighProject.com, and get free and frequent updates.
What's that web address again?
CastaicHighProject.com.
With fervor, like you really mean it.
CastaicHighProject.com.
Great healthcare just got easier and more convenient in Canyon Country. Facey Canyon Country is now open directly off the Soledad Canyon exit off the 14 freeway. The 37,000 square foot clinic houses Facey Medical Group primary care physicians, pediatricians, and specialists. Facey has easy 24/7 online appointment scheduling for PCPs and PEDS. For more information or to make an appointment, visit facey.com. That's FACEY.com.
Dreaming of becoming the next Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, or maybe just you want your kid to look good and have fun on the court? Introducing the Shotmaster. The Shotmaster is a revolutionary basketball training aid that isolates the shooting pocket, allows you to develop that consistent shot. Shotmaster will improve your shooting efficiency, accuracy, and shooting percentages dramatically. It's the ultimate training device. There's nothing like it. Visit shotmaster.net and discover for yourself how Shotmaster will become your game changer. Shotmaster.net.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the law office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the law office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
The Antelope Valley Fair presents Zario Speedwagon performing at the Palmdale Auto Mall's concert series on Saturday, August 17th. Here comes REO. Opening for REO, the LA indie rock band Sir Please. Get your tickets today at avfair.com. This year's fair presented by IBEW and NECA.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome to the Ask Brien Show. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show, AskBrien, for the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. People love it when I do that around here. They all like, oh my God, Peter. Anyway, we're back. Peter, who's Peter? That's my pseudonym. Anyway, we're back here live. We have Andrew Metal as our special guest, and of course, my co-host, Alex Grossman. And we're back live. Okay, guys. So we were talking. I'm just amazed at your story here. For a young guy, you've been through a lot. You've started something, made something big, went down to the bottom, started another something. Now that's big. I mean, that takes a lot of inspiration. That creates a lot of inspiration in every listener. If you've listened to this story here, it's quite an amazing feat. And I would not just consider yourself to be an ordinary person. I think you're extraordinary. And I think you should apply to become an expert on Ask Brien, because that's what we have, extraordinary people.
Done.
Great.
Yeah, I might be young at heart, but my hair says I'm a little older than I actually am. Yeah, the gray hair, the full gray head of hair might fool people. So.
Well, working 18-hour days will do that to you. So one of the things you had said earlier on the show is you had a program and where people can create a website in one day. And I'm trying to figure that out because, I've had websites that I'm still working on for 6 months here. And I'm just trying to figure out how you're going to get a website in one day. So tell us a little more about that program, the software you use, and how many features and how many things you can actually have. What kind of website are we talking about in a one-day event?
For sure. Yeah, so the website training program that I've rolled out is part of a larger program, which is Street Smarter. And Street Smarter focuses on anti-recidivism, but then also making technology more accessible to the masses. And so, last week, for instance, I was in Crenshaw with an organization called Community Build, which gives back to the local residents there. And we're in the process of rolling out the website training program. And so we base our program on WordPress. WordPress powers, roughly 30% of the internet. Major companies all over the internet use them, from Beyonce to Snoop Dogg to MTV to CNN to Facebook News to any big company you can think of probably either uses them or uses them in some capacity. So we love WordPress. We think it's an effective way to create a website. For those that don't know, WordPress is a CMS. It's a content management system. So think of it as like, a prepackaged way to create a website easy. If you're thinking of like, the internet or the website as like a car, think you already have the engine. Now you just need the body, and WordPress acts as the body. And so when you install and use WordPress, you're creating the body, but then also customizing it and creating the paint on the car, right? And so we go through the process of teaching people how to manage a server, upload WordPress, install WordPress, install plugins, customize the WordPress site, install themes, use different themes, utilizing different themes. Some of these different themes have different demos that you can actually import. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with WordPress or not, but importing a demo is essentially creating a website that has tons of features with just a bunch of placeholder content, depending on what type of WordPress theme you're using, right? They all range. But by teaching people how to utilize WordPress and customize themes and install plugins, we give them the ability to create fully functional, responsive WordPress sites. And these websites, like I said, are used by some of the biggest companies in the world. And through our one-day program, we're able to teach it. And so it's great for small business owners. It's great for entrepreneurs. It's great for anyone that wants a new skill set. It's great for people that, work in a job they don't particularly enjoy, that want to make a career move, because then they can learn how to build a WordPress website. They can either try and sell WordPress websites as like an agency model or freelance, or can even start a business by creating their own website. So the benefits and advantages are endless. And we just personally, I feel, and my team and I feel that WordPress is an easy and effective way to do that.
So if somebody wanted to do that program and they don't go to Crenshaw and they've missed that, can they go online to do this Street Smarter program? How does that work?
So right now we're doing in-person programs just to kind of work out work out our program, any kinks or bugs or whatever that we think should be resolved. At some point in the very near future, we will be rolling out an online course that will allow them the ability to build WordPress websites by just going through a training that we put together. And if they're interested in that, they can either go to streetsmarter.co for more information, and or they can send me a message directly on my personal website, and that's andrewmetal.com. That's Andrew, M-E-D as in dog, A-L.com. And so they can reach out and just let me know that they're interested in the program, and we'll put them in our database and let them know when we do roll it out, on the internet, and or we can alert them of other programs in the area. We'll be doing more in Southern California, from Orange County to LA County to Ventura County. We'll be rolling out to other states in the very near future too. So,
Alex, we have about a minute left. You had a question?
Really, Andrew, no. I just think what you're doing is great there, and I do know you have your code in Fiverr that you mentioned. You said the code was AA. I just wanted everybody to understand that. And since we have a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business people, I just would like you to take 30 seconds, tell them what they can use Fiverr for, because I think it's really important for a lot of our folks to be able to have those type of resources. I don't think people understand those resources.
Yeah, Fiverr is amazing. I mean, you can do anything from creating a podcast cover to helping with websites to adding plugins to your WordPress website to create content to video editing to podcast editing. I mean, all the little services and tasks that you think you need, from research and development to pitch decks to putting proposals together, like all of those types of services can be found on Fiverr. You get 10% off with the code AA, and I think it's just an amazing resource, and I would highly recommend it.
Thank you very much. We got to go. We'd love to have you back, because I really know that there's more information we could even get out of you. It was a great show. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Ask Brien Radio turning off.
Thanks, everyone.